I believe that the current NFL overtime format is the single biggest joke in all of professional sports. Here's why. If you are running a league, a sports league, a professional sports league, which also involves people's livelihoods, people wagering millions of dollars, it is your job to ensure that that sport has the most competitive balance as possible. And I firmly believe that the NFL overtime rules do not allow for that. And here's why. In an NFL game, you have 10, 15 possessions. It's an offensive league. If you deny that at this point, I'm sorry if I offend you, but you're a moron. The leagues are, the league rules are leaning offense, quarterback ratings, yards per completion, points per game. Everything is up. It's an offensive league. There's no denying it. There's a reason teams are hiring offensive coordinators as head coaches and letting their defensive-minded head coaches go. So it's an offensive league. Teams value the ball. They're going for it more on fourth down than we've ever seen by a landslide. The ball, possessions, offense, that is the NFL. If you don't like it, maybe go watch a different sport. That is the reality that we're living in. A team might get 10, 15 possessions in a game, and each one they know the importance of it. And the current NFL overtime rules gift a team a possession based on something as simple as a coin toss, a possession that the other team may not get a chance to equally get that opportunity. And that is a joke. That is an absolute joke that they can't come up with a better option. And I have a better option that I'm going to get to here. That is the equivalent of take Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Heat, Lakers. Let's say it goes to overtime. And they say, all right, we're going to flip a coin. And whoever wins that coin toss, you're going to start with the ball. Note, by the way, that only one time an NFL team has chosen not to start with the ball. And it was like a 13-13 game. Mike Zimmer and his defensive-minded Vikings in a terrible conditions game, knowing that there was not a good chance of the team going down to score a touchdown. One time in all of these overtimes, the team has decided to start on defense. So that tells you right there. Of all the defensive-minded teams out there, with God knows who at quarterback, they're still taking the ball because they know that it gives them the best chance to win. Anyway, back to the basketball analogy. Let's say they flip a coin. And let's say it's LeBron James or Jimmy Butler. Let's say the Heat. Let's say the Heat win the coin toss. They put the ball, they give it to Jimmy Butler. If you score a basket, this game's over. LeBron can't touch the ball. That is what the NFL does. That is what the NFL does, and it is not right, it is not okay, and it needs to change yesterday. So here's the arguments for these rules that are just moronic, and I'm going to debunk all of them. So the most probably reasonable argument is that it's about 50% of these games do not end on an opening drive touchdown, which is great, good for the team that actually came up with a stop on defense. Well, what about the other 50% of the times that did? What about the last 7 playoff games that went to overtime? 5 of the last 7. The team that won the coin toss went down, scored a touchdown, won the game. The quarterbacks that had to sit and watch as their tired-ass defense gave up these massive touchdown drives, the quarterbacks that had to sit and watch, Aaron Rodgers twice, Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, MVP winning Matt Ryan. 5 of the last 7. They didn't get to touch the football in an offensive league. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. So, yeah, there might be 50% of the times that this doesn't work, but what about the 50% do? That's like saying only 5% of Americans end up getting robbed or murdered. Well, does that just make it okay then? Because it's only 5%? Come on. Process over results here, people. And the results are there in big critical games. The Texans season ended on Sunday because Deshaun Watson didn't get to touch the ball. You saw Deshaun Watson's reaction when they lost that coin toss. He knew what was going to happen. 36-36 that game was. 4 of the last 5 drives ended in a touchdown. And because of a coin toss, the Texans didn't get to touch the football. And their season's over now because of it. So that's one argument, 52% or whatever. But there's other arguments here, and they're way worse. One of them is just make a stop. Come on, just play defense. Get a stop. You can do it. There's two sides of the ball. You should have to play defense. How many freaking stops did the Tennessee Titans have to get? How much defense did the Titans have to prove that they can play in this offensive league against the Texans? How many times did opponents against Aaron Rodgers in NFC championships have to prove? Or NFC divisional rounds have to prove that they can stop Aaron Rodgers? How many times did the Patriots have to prove that they can stop Patrick Mahomes in a 38-38 shootout in overtime? Matt Ryan in the Super Bowl that was like 42-42. Yeah, that just make a stop. Yeah, just do it. Just make a stop. If this is a two-sided sport, why don't both teams have to prove that they can get a stop? Use your brains, people. Use your brains. Terrible argument. Just make a stop. Oh, all the rules lean offense. It's, your defense is exhausted. You've given up 3 touchdowns in the last 4 drives, but, just make a stop. Just make a stop. Yeah. And then the worst one, the worst argument for this is just win in regulation. Are you freaking kidding me? Have you ever taken a philosophy course? Where is the thinking on that? Like I said, competitive balance. There is no logical reason why any team should have an advantage based on a coin toss. It'd be better if they went out and did a, best of 3 field goal kickoff to decide who starts with the ball. Or just make the home team start with the ball so you at least know what to expect. The fact that it's a coin toss that decides these games, it's a freaking joke. That's what it is. The biggest joke in professional sports. So, what do you do? What do you do? Because I can sit here and rant. Well, I've had a solution for this for 3 years, and it's driving me insane that they can't come to this. So I get it. You don't want these games to go on forever. You don't want the stats to get skewed. And honestly, if they just make this change for playoffs, that's fine by me. But the fact that playoff games can end like this is just, it's mind-numbing. So there's things we could tweak so that this doesn't destroy the record books. Hell, just don't count the stats in overtime. I don't really care. It should be more about who wins the game. Add in rules where you have to go for 2. So here's my solution. Similar to college rules, but not college rules, because college, it's a little too crazy. It's a little too exotic. That's not what I'm thinking here. So what you do, you scratch kickoffs and punts. Some people don't like that because they're like, oh, there's 3 sides to football. Well, then why doesn't overtime value both sides of football? You can't say that the rules right now are okay where only one side has to play, and then say that, well, we're going to get rid of punts and say, oh no, special teams. You got to include special teams. Get GTFO on that one. Offense and defense. Kickoffs and punts, you scratch them. And you basically have college rules from there. I'll explain some of the details. The reason you need to do that is because if you just say that the second team can always answer, right? If the other team scores a touchdown, current rules, that the other team can then answer, well, then everyone's going to kick. And then the kicking team has a serious advantage because if you get a stop, you still only need a field goal. So the reason you get rid of kickoffs and punts, both teams start on the 35-yard line, and you both start on the same side of the field, right? So wind conditions doesn't matter. You both start going the same direction. You start on the 35. When you get to 4th down, you have 2 options. You can go for it, per usual. If you don't get it, the other team takes over and presumably would only need a field goal to win. And the other option is you can punt. And if you punt, no matter where you are, the other team starts exactly where you started. It's an A and B relationship. It's offense versus defense, then it's offense versus defense. And like I said, if you don't want these games to go on forever, you implement a rule where after the first overtime, you got to go for 2. Or you take something from the XFL and say, do a little scoregami. You can go for 1 from the 2, 2 from the 5, 3 from the 10. There's little things you can do here, but it's all better than our current rules. It's all better. So please, NFL, I am begging from the bottom of my heart, For myself and many NFL fans that agree with me, please change these garbage rules that are ruining team seasons. They're ruining playoff games. They're changing guys' livelihoods. These games mean a lot. This isn't baseball where you play 162 games. This isn't baseball and hockey and basketball where there's 7-game series. You get like 12 possessions in football, and your overtime rules gift one to another team where the other team doesn't get that advantage. It is just absurd. So please, NFL, change these rules. And if you're watching this video, please share it. The fact that more broadcasters don't talk about this, more analysts on networks don't talk about how bad these rules are, makes me sick. Because we just sit there and accept that this is okay. We all knew what was going to happen after a freaking coin toss, that the Titans were going to go beat the Texans. And Deshaun Watson knew it too. So please change this garbage. This absolute literal garbage. Get it out of the sport. I am sick of it. So that is the rant. We're going to get back into the podcast. It's going to be a separate video. So if you enjoyed, if you agree, share, like, let's move on and talk some real football and move on from this trash